From Washington, D.C. to the heart of America, welcome to Mark Alford's America. I'm freshman Congressman from Missouri, Mark Alford, and I believe in America. I believe in you, and most importantly, I believe that our greatest days are still ahead. You know, each week we take you behind the scenes to share the stories, the news, legislation, all of it happening right here in Washington, D.C., and to meet the great folks that I get the honor of working with each and every day here. Well, today our guest is Congressman Juan Ciscomani. Congressman Ciscomani immigrated to the United States when he was a young boy and established his roots really in Tucson, Arizona. His father worked as a bus driver to give his children a shot at the American dream. Ciscomani went to Pima Community College, University of Arizona. He worked his way through school, did some maintenance service jobs. He became the first in his family to graduate from college. He worked for the University of Arizona, the Tucson Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and then served as Arizona Governor Doug Ducey's senior advisor and as vice chair of the Arizona-Mexico Commission. In 2022, Juan became the first naturalized American citizen from Mexico elected to the U.S. House of Representatives in Arizona history. I'm proud to call him a friend and a freshman brother in the 118th Congress of the United States of America. Please welcome Juan Ciscomani.
Hey, thanks, Mark.
We're in your office. You're just one floor down from us at Longworth.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, you're a great guy. I've just enjoyed getting to know you and be friends with you. But I'm so impressed with your story of coming to America, and now you're a congressman.
Yeah.
Tell me more about that.
Well, it's remarkable, and as my dad and my mom always say, only in America, right? That's what they always say. And I got to tell you, that week before I launched the campaign, we usually get together with my parents over the weekend, have lunch on Sunday after church. And I'll never forget it. My dad pulls me aside and he says, I just want you to think of something before you launch this campaign. This is in August of 21, July of 21. He said, where else in the world could we have our story? He said, we come to the country, we immerse in the culture, we learn English, we go through the long process of becoming U.S. citizens. He said, I drive a bus my whole life, and now my son has an opportunity to become a member of the United States Congress. He's like, where else in the world could that be? And then he said, only here in America. So as you go out and campaign and make a case for why you're the best person for this job, he said, just being grateful to this country. It's not about tearing anything down. It's about building it up. It's about strengthening it. It's about investing in it. He said, so don't get involved in all the negative back and forth. Be a happy warrior out there. Tell people about the American dream, how it worked for us. I mean, my gosh, we became U.S. citizens in 2006. Mark, it wasn't even that long ago, right? So in 2006, I become a U.S. citizen, and I take an oath to the Constitution to become a U.S. citizen. 16 years later, I take an oath to the Constitution to become a U.S. congressman. I mean, to my dad's words, where else in the world could that be? It's nowhere, right? So, but you got to have that perspective. But when I share people this story, people see themselves reflected in it a bit because they're like, maybe they didn't become citizens themselves the way I did, but they remember this is a great country. It's given me opportunities that no other place in the world would have given me.
Why do you think there are so many people who are so down on America then?
Well, there are reasons also for that. I mean, there's no question that we're in a tough spot. You know, when people can't afford basic needs, when the border is wide open and they feel that that immigrants that are coming in that way are being taken care more fairly than some U.S. citizens, including our veterans in many cases, which is extremely, just wrong. And you and I are fighting for our veterans out here. When there are definitely things that are wrong with our country that we need fixing. That's why I ran. That's why you ran, because we want to make things better. Now, I think people need to get involved at every level. We need to get involved in education. We need to get involved, obviously, in government. We need to get involved in the private sector. Also, some people look to the government a little much for things to get fixed. And this is on both sides. Some people want the government to provide everything for them. And even our side sometimes looks at government officials and say, go fix it. And it's just not doesn't work that way. I always said I worked for a governor that was an entrepreneur, and he would always say that the government doesn't create jobs. The government creates an environment where businesses can go and create the jobs, but the government doesn't create these jobs. So we've gotten into a notion that politicians claim to create jobs, they claim to save the day, and that's just not the case. The American people are the ones that are creating this, and we need to step up and go take back what we need changed. That's what my dad said at the end of that story. Actually, he said, "Listen, where I come from, where dissatisfaction is there's despair because there's really nothing you can do about it. You can't change things. You can't jump classes. You can't do that stuff." He says, "But here, with dissatisfaction comes an opportunity to go in there, get involved, and fix it. Whether you're an immigrant like me and look where we're sitting now, or you're someone that has been here and you can trace your lineage back to the Mayflower. It really, this is a country that will give everybody an opportunity."
When you see what this administration has done with the border, where more than now 10 million illegal aliens have come into our nation, where this administration refused early on to even call it a crisis.
Yeah.
And as someone who's come here legally and stood in line and did the hard work to become a U.S. citizen, how does it make you feel to see that happening to our nation?
Yeah, well, the same way that it makes a lot of families that went through this process feel, and even more so the families that are still in this process, which is frustrating, right? It took my family 13 years, Mark. 13 years.
13 years.
Now, you look at the process, and there's got to be something we can fix on this, right? When I look at the border, I'm like, well, there's 3 different kind of sections that you can oversimplify it maybe, but you got immigration, which is the process of coming here, the work visas, the student visas, people, a green card, pursuing citizenship. Then you've got another bucket, trade and commerce. For border states specifically, this is extremely important. Mexico's our number 1 trading partner in Arizona by 4, actually, combined to, versus the number 2. So trade, commerce, tourism is very important for the whole nation. For the U.S., Mexico's our number 1 trading partner as well. So you've got the commercial relationship. That's another section. And then you've got security. The really bad actors doing bad things, trafficking people, drugs, fentanyl, those kind of things. The problem is when we start mixing them and we feel like, oh, everybody coming here to work and study. That's not the case. Or everybody coming here to hurt America. Well, that's not the case either. But we have to have a balanced view on this. And when you have families right now that 80 years into the process, they're watching what's going on the border, and people are just walking up and getting a free pass in. And every time I fly here, I have a group of migrants in the plane every single time, every single week. Because they're being flown to the East Coast, they're being flown all over. So when people that are in the process see this and they obviously feel like they've been skipped over because they've done it a certain way that the system takes way too long, and they're in year 8, 9, and all of a sudden they're in the back of the line again.
Wow. How do we solve it? How do we solve the border situation? Because Trump's he's gonna win. You saw the debate.
I saw the debate,
and I don't want to spend a lot of time on that, but it was very sad.
Yeah,
I feel sad for our country.
Yeah,
Trump's gonna win. What do we do about the border?
Well, I think what he was clear on, that I agree with him, is we have to stop the flow of people coming in at this point. That's step number 1, immediately. And he did it before, so he knows exactly how to do it. That's one of the very encouraging things of seeing President Trump back in the White House, that he'll come in with an experience of 4 years already. He even knows what he can do even within the period that he's president-elect. He can start working on some of these things. The border is going to be one of the first things that we tackle. We have to. And the public wants this as well. This is not just an issue that some Republicans or all Republicans want. When I look at the independents in my district and even a lot of Democrats, this is an issue that is very high on the list. My district is 1/3 Republican, 1/3 Democrat, and 1/3 independent. So it's a very, a split district in that sense, a very competitive district as well. It's also where just common sense wins. I don't need to be too heavy on either side. I just have to go find solutions. And this is a solution that my district wants and the country wants.
Bring back Remain in Mexico?
Absolutely. Bring back Remain in Mexico should be the first step. That's one of the things that work the most. Not only does it work in practice, but it works in messaging. You're a messaging expert. You've been doing this your whole career. When you tell people and you actually show that a few people have, come in, they claim the asylum, and then they have to wait their turn across the border, the message is going to get out immediately. And families all across Latin America and across the world are going to hear the message that the border is no longer open, and that if you make that dangerous journey over, risking your life and your children's lives in many cases, and you have a strong possibility of being sent back to wait on the Mexico side, then they're not going to be able to take that risk.
Especially when 85% of the claims are not legitimate asylum claims.
Not legitimate.
Coming here for America like your dad for better opportunities, he did it the right way. That's not a legitimate asylum claim.
Well, one of the main issues is that before, asylum claims were all processed at the ports of entry. If you ever try to cross the border claiming asylum at another point besides the port of entry, you were already automatically put into a different lane because you didn't go through the port of entry. Right now, it's just at any point. And that becomes a big problem because it's a harder process. And again, it interferes with the real job of Border Patrol, which is securing the border against criminals. And when they overload Border Patrol with family units, so they take a lot of human power, then that leaves wide open areas where the cartels end up putting in the really dangerous people and the drugs coming through.
We're talking with Congressman Juan Ciscomani of Arizona. Stay with us. For Mark Alford's America, we'll be right back. Welcome back to Mark Alford's America, where we give you a behind-the-scenes look each week at Washington. Let you meet some of the folks I work with, helping shape our great nation. And today we're in the office of freshman Congressman Juan Ciscomani of Arizona, who immigrated and got his citizenship here in the United States of America not too many years ago in 2006, and was sworn in the same day I was after 15 votes for Kevin McCarthy.
Early in the morning or late at night, whatever way you're going to look at that. But it was like 2 a.m. or something.
They said your class has made a lot of history.
Oh, yeah.
We have, but not the kind of history that I like.
Not the one that we envisioned to me,
No.
that's for sure.
That's been over a year now, but it still seems like yesterday our families were all up here. They were in the gallery wanting to see us sworn in. Most people had gone home by the time it rolled around and we were finally sworn in. You have 6 children and a lovely wife. Her wife, your wife, and my wife are friends. How does a guy? We're empty nesters, and it's tough for me. Of course, I'm a little bit older than you, but it's got to be extremely tough on you and your family for you to be here during the week. You have one of your children with you this week, but how do you do that, Juan?
Well, that's probably the hardest thing about the job. The job itself requires sacrifice, and like any other job does, and either travel or hard work, long hours, which is what we signed up for. But I frankly underestimated what it was going to feel like to be away from home as much as I am, and how they were going to feel about that as well. Now, still I'm coaching flag football on the weekends. I do those kind of things. But I was doing that a lot more before, especially with the older ones. I have 6 kids, 15 to 5 is the range. And it's hard on them. They understand it or they don't in different ways, and it impacts them in different ways. Some may act a little bit out in school and they don't know what's going on. And then, it comes out that I miss dad. And everybody's getting kind of used to it. But one of my sons is here today. It all started because my 4-year-old at the time, she's 5 now, one time that I came home and I was packing to take the red eye, because in Arizona, it took the whole day to get here. You lose 3 hours. So I take the red eye, and I had just gotten home maybe like 36 hours before. So she said, Daddy, if, why are you leaving again? Whatever. And then she said, if I promise you to stop being bad, will you stop leaving me?
Oh.
And it just, broke my heart. I told my wife in the moment, I said, hey, I'm going to take her with me this week. And she's like, wait, what do you know? She's like, I said, I grew up with all sisters. I can braid hair like no other. I said, just let me take her and she'll just spend time with me. And then she came back and she just blossomed and she called it a one-on-one with Daddy. So then the other kids were like, I want a one-on-one with Daddy too. So then I started bringing them up one by one. And Kenny, who's here this week, is the last of the 6 to get the trip this year.
And then will you repeat that?
Oh yeah. We'll keep the cycle going. It's something that they enjoy. They go to meetings with me.
I've seen them in conference.
Yeah, exactly. Conference meetings. They go to committee.
They come on the house floor.
Yep, they go to the house floor. They sleep here in the office with me, so they can get the real taste of what I go through here. The schedule. They fall asleep at different meetings as well. I've taken pictures of all of them sleeping. So we're gonna do a collage here at the end of the year. But it's this is what it's all about. It's family, right? So it is hard on them as well, and it's important for people to know that back at home with you as well, that Leslie misses you, and your family does, and our families do. But it's what we signed up for, and we're happy to do it. But if anybody says, what can I do for you? I say, but pray for my family.
Yeah.
Call Laura every once in a while, see how she's doing, and that's the help that I ask.
It is tough on families.
Yeah.
your families back in your district are going through tough times. I understand the economy and the Biden inflation has really taken a toll, and it's probably your number one issue right now.
It is. One of the things that makes it unique in my experience is that I'm still raising kids. And in my district, I look back at the history of my district. Over 40-some years ago, it was created, carved out. I became the first member in the history of my district to be raising a family at the same time that I was in Congress. Most of the time, they were empty nesters or they didn't have children. So that gives me a unique opportunity to drop kids off at school and go to pick them up at practice or be the coach myself. Those kind of things that go to the grocery store still with the family. And these kind of things give me a different perspective of how things are going. And I got to tell you, it doesn't matter if you're the congressman or not. If you take too long to drop off a kid at the drop-off lane in school, you're going to get yelled at by those moms. They don't care, okay? And dads, they just honk at you. But what I hear from families is just the simple things, spending so much more on groceries, especially in the summer. And you know how this is in Tucson, specifically in Arizona, where so hot, energy bills goes up, the AC's on all the time, and kids are at home eating all the time in the summer. So grocery bills goes up. Normally, now with the cost of eggs and milk and basic necessities, it's even worse. So people are feeling it. You know what I think it's happening, Mark? I think people are realizing this isn't going away.
Right.
I think for a while they were like, well, we go through waves, maybe there's some light at the end of the tunnel. But now it's interest rates aren't going up. The houses are not coming down. Maybe the price of the house itself is, but the interest rate is not, which makes the house way more expensive and unaffordable. Cars are harder to purchase. So after 3.5 years, people realize this isn't going to change unless we change something else. This isn't going to just naturally change.
And what's going to change that?
Well, I think the government spending, I'm in the Appropriations Committee. That's one of the things we're tackling up here. We have to deal with the regulations and the overburdensome presence of government rules that are prohibiting energy resources here in our country. All these things play a role into what's happening globally, but that impact the United States as well. So again, I think that change that we're going to get in the White House, one of the unique things about this is that we don't have to kind of trust or wonder what one president is going to do versus the other. Both have done it. And all people have to do is say, how was my life from 16 to 20? And how was my life from 20 to 24? At what point did I feel I was in better shape and better, with better opportunities? And that is what we have ahead of us. So I'll take the 16 to 24 4 years any day. And that's what is ahead of us from 24 to 28.
You hear that often. Are you better off than you were 4 years ago?
Yeah.
I don't think Biden is better off than he was 4 days ago. And it's a sad situation. One of the biggest existential threats for our nation is our national debt. Yeah. Almost $35 trillion now. And I know you're on Appropriations Committee. The appropriators they bring forward the spending bills. We're voting on those, and we're hopefully going to get our homework done, pretty much all done before we go back for our in-district work week. But how do you balance that out? How do we fund the government, pay for programs, and cut spending?
Yeah, that's a great point, and we'd love to do a different segment on the appropriations process itself because it's very unique, and some people assume that we could balance the budget off appropriations alone. The appropriations size of the budget of the government, it's only about 28%. The other 72% is pre-committed through Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. That's where the bulk and the majority of the spending of our government is going. So even if you wiped out the entire 28% of the appropriations process, which includes all defense, all veterans, everything, even if you did that, which is obviously impossible, you still wouldn't balance the budget immediately. So this needs it's a big ship that took us decades of overspending to get here, where people before you and me did this the wrong way and overspent with the government. Now you and I are here and we're curving it, but it's fortunately not going to be immediate. That's just the reality of it. But we are starting by spending less this year than we did last year, and last year's budget less than the year before. I think that's how we have to start enforcing this, and just frankly going over and cutting things that either weren't authorized or that we just haven't that we're not in the process correctly. But the overspending in Washington, I'm sure that you noticed as you got here, is part of the culture here.
Yeah.
Whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, it hasn't mattered.
Right.
Both sides have overspent. The debt has grown under Republican presidents and Democrat presidents. It's grown under majorities on both sides. It's a Washington problem. more than any other kind of issue. That's why I consider myself an outsider here, and so do you, and takes people like you and me with that mindset to come in and say, hey, why are we spending in this? Why are we putting money there? That's how it starts, and that's how it needs to carry on.
I do honestly think that we can help grow our economy in such a way under President Trump that's going to get us out of a lot of this debt.
Yeah. It's been done before. So, yeah.
Hey, Juan, thank you so much.
Anytime, brother.
I appreciate you. I could talk with you all day. Thanks for joining us for Mark Offers America. We'll talk again next week. Until then, remember, I believe in you. I believe that our best days are still ahead of us. And Juan Ciscomani, I believe in America.
Amen.